Here we are, Jilly. We are beaming out live this evening. Live. We'll wait for people to hop on before we start introductions and the proceedings for a myth-busting evening. That's our intention, isn't it? So let's wait and see who's going to hop on. We've had quite a few people commenting and joining Good Enough Women group, the Good Enough Club. So I'm hoping we're going to have a nice audience this evening.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really looking forward to being here. I mean, as you and I both know, part of what we do is to just spread the word, to think about things that are really helpful and useful and help us to raise our vibe and all that good stuff. And EFT is one of them. But a lot of people just go.
They do. They find it a little bit too good to be true. But we'll come on to that. We'll wait and see what's going on. Good evening.
Oh, hello, everybody.
Got reverb going on.
Oh, have we?
Headphones with me.
Everything I've got around. Let me turn. Is that any help? I've got my phone fairly near.
No, let me just turn on.
I can turn.
I think it's me.
Is it?
I haven't got my headphones with me.
Does that make a difference?
If I put headphones in, it's reverb. Weird.
I can't. You sound good to me, hon.
Do I?
Yeah.
Who's watching? Do I sound okay, or do I sound like a robot?
There's a tiny little bit of tin in it, but it's so little. It's like
we're gonna have to deal with it. I haven't got a solution. It's not sounding great. Me. Who have we got on tonight? We've got 5 beautiful viewers. Tell me in the comments. Do I sound like a robot? Oh, robot and echo. Oh. Jilly, 2 seconds. I might go find some headphones. You start. I'm going to go see if I can find some headphones.
Yeah, absolutely, my darlings. I'm going to...
Everyone introduce themselves.
Yeah. Okay, so I can't see you at all because Naomi's hosting this, my lovelies. So I can't see you. But if you can just put in... because we're through StreamYard, so if you can just give the permission to show your name, that would be really great. Just above the little icon, there's a little click. If you click on that, it'll allow Naomi to just say hi to you. So that'd be really great. And if you've got any questions or thoughts or just want to say hello. So this is the second live that we're doing on EFT. And we decided today when we're chatting about it that we're going to actually make this just a kind of a bit more of a regular thing, because we got some great feedback from people saying, well, I didn't know this and I didn't know that, and oh, that's amazing. So we're going to actually continue this for a few weeks. It might not be every week, but so let us know. Let's get an emoji going or a comment going about what you already know about EFT or what's your thoughts. So post an emoji about what your thoughts are about EFT. Hasn't Naomi got a suntan? I'm feeling a bit like under suntanned here. So let's get those emojis going about what you feel about EFT. If you know it, let's get something that shows that. If you're a bit not sure, let's get those going too. Just ask them to get some emojis going about EFT. Am I sounding tinny to people?
I think it's just me. Oh, that's better. Is it?
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Tapping my way through. Tapping my way through, Jilly. Tapping my way through. Apologies. It's sounding better now, isn't it? I don't know. Let's roll with it, Jilly. You might have to do the talking, and I'm going to interact by the medium of mind.
Let's roll with it. So I think what we're going to talk today, we're going to talk about the science behind EFT. And the reason why Naomi and I want to do that was because I started using EFT about 15 years ago, and it was a bit like, and I have to say, I always regarded myself as a pretty open-minded person. But when someone started to talk to me about, I was open to energy and all that sort of thing. But when someone started to actually talk to me about EFT and how it worked, I was like, really? Yeah, you were too. And so it was quite a long time ago. And then one day I'll just tell them a quick story, Naomi.
Go for it.
What happened was that I'd seen a flat which I really, really, really loved. Like, it was my dream place. And I put an offer on it, and the guy who was selling it was a bit of a cowboy builder, and he just tried to haul me over the coals and hold me to ransom for more money and lied about what he was doing and all this sort of thing. Anyway, we got over all of that, and then suddenly I didn't want to be there, didn't want to buy it, got a really bad foreboding about it. And all my friends were going, what the is that about, Jilly? And I just thought, God, what is this? So I was talking to a friend of mine who just learned some EFT. So she said, I'll do a bit of EFT on it. And I was doing the EFT, and I know this is going to sound really bizarre, but as I did it, I realised that when I last visited it to check out the paintwork and things, you know, whether he'd done certain things, I remember looking, and I totally forgotten this. I looked out of a window and I just thought, I wonder if that something bad's going to happen here. And it was just a thought in my head. I wonder, like, if my mum died, I wonder if something dreadful would happen. And I'd had this thought, and somewhere in my psyche, it just completely patterned in and made me feel as if I didn't want the place when everything else was fine. So I just did some EFT on it, and it cleared it completely. And I moved in and spent 10 years there. Loved it. Still own it. I rent it now. But it was just one of those really bizarre things, you know, and I'm sure you've all had it, where you feel as though you can't do something and are stopped from doing something. And there's loads of reasons why. But yeah, so that was my journey with EFT. Then I was sold. I went to training it. I was a master trainer in EFT and totally love it. But what I recognise is that a lot of people feel and think that just by doing this on these acupuncture points, that you can dissolve food cravings, you can dissolve fears and anxiety. It's like, yeah, righto. So we can talk ad infinitum about the people we know and case studies, but we just thought we'd give a little bit of the science behind it, didn't we, Naomi?
We did, yes.
Excuse me.
Oh, it's annoying.
Oh no. Keep tapping and I'll keep talking.
The frustration.
So I think a lot of people, you know, when we look at what Naomi and I sometimes come across, I have to say, not so much these days, but people think it's a bit woo. And I think part of the problem is that so many people are wedded. You know, we're brought up with a medical model, aren't we? We're brought up to believe that everything is traditional medicine. We're brought up to believe if there's a problem, if we've got high anxiety, that we're a bit broken, there's something wrong with us, and we have to go to a doctor to fix it. And we just don't, often, we don't have the information, but there's such a huge wealth of energy medicine techniques, EFT being probably the top one, out there for us to use. Are you able to chat at all, Naomi, or shall I just go forward? Can't hear you, love. Your mic's off.
I turned the mic off to see if that would work. I'm just shutting down some windows because it might be that I'm broadcasting through another window. Give me 60 seconds, and I think I might put the great idea.
Yeah. So what we were noticing was that some people just, once they were with us and experiencing EFT, then literally within minutes, they were going, oh my God, this is so incredible. But we had to get over that initial sort of barrier with people sometimes. And the problem is the impact of because I see EFT as a technique which enables us to get rid of stress. And stress can be seen as all sorts of things: the emotional stress and physical stress, like illness, disease, even like headaches or eczema and stuff like that. So we get all these things, and you know, people just cannot believe that energy medicine, EFT, can actually resolve that. Now, high stress, what it does is it makes us work from the part of our brain that is absolutely wired for survival. So we stop getting creative, we stop thinking, well, I wonder if I could try that, or yeah, that might work, because we're just in that, no, it's not in my model, and we can't, it's really hard to think outside of it, isn't it, Naomi?
Yeah, what I find is that
Okay. So, sorry, you go.
Lily, try muting your microphone whilst I'm talking. See if that works. So what yeah, there we go. Thank you, Victoria. Victoria's given me all the top tips. Do I sound loud and clear now? We're just going to have to alternate our microphones, I think. We found a solution. This is what we do. We're solution-focused therapists. Thank you, Victoria. Gee, brilliant. Okay. So yeah, what I see in clients is that when they're feeling stuck, because they're working from that part of the brain, they're really not able to access these other, or don't see the solutions because they're very narrow in their thinking when they're been conditioned. We've all been conditioned to believe the traditional medical model. That's how we've been raised. And we have this bias that authority figures know best. So we quash our intuition and our curiosity and stay in this stuck place. And that can be very overwhelming when we're having these big feelings and emotions that we then end up repressing, and I see that in my clients as well. Would you agree, Jilly?
Oh, this is hysterical. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, completely. And I've sort of explained a little bit about that and why it kind of happens. And the thing is, I mean, we could go on endlessly, couldn't we, about the things that we've seen. But honestly, ladies, when we look further than the medical model, what we see and what we know is a whole world of energy. So anybody who thinks, oh no, that's totally woo, well, within the medical model, you know, we've got PET scans and electromagnetic imaging, resonance imaging machines, MRIs, PET scans, things like that. And they all use the electromagnetic fields around and within the organs. So when we look at what exactly is energy, now this is an area, and I was talking to Naomi this morning. She says, "Oh, Jill, can you cut that down a bit?" So if we just look at two things, if we look at like the different brain waves that you go through, so you go from beta, which is like kind of being busy and thinking, and then alpha, which is chilled, and then theta, which is like chilled, like a bit dreamy, bit hypnotic-y, and then we go down into delta and sleep and stuff like that. So each of these brainwaves can be measured by its electromagnetic pulses, by electromagnetic fields. So when we're looking at energy, we're just looking at the emission, the electromagnetic emission of something. And that's all you have to understand. So the electromagnetic fields around your heart, around your lip. I'm looking at an image of myself and I realised I pointed to the wrong area. My heart's here. And so all of your organs, like if you get a wound or a sick part of your body, the electromagnetic field is different and it can be picked up by certain scans. So when we're looking at the electromagnetic fields, it's this that EFT works through. So it's like big, if you think of your acupuncture, any of you who are familiar with acupuncture, with these beautiful lines of energy through our body, through which these electromagnetic currents move through, and they directly impact the way things are patterned in our brain. Do you want to take it from there, Naomi? Oh, we're doing the wrong thing.
Yes. So I think when we start to look at the science and realize that it comes from this base, which is also used in traditional medicine, but we also find it in nature. I was reading the other day about sharks and how they use electromagnetic fields for hunting and catching prey. And also when the birds murmur in the sky and they do that amazing formation, the murmurings and migration, they're all using these electromagnetic currents to guide, use their intuition and tap into them. And it's something that our rational brain just yet to understand exactly how they do that and how we do that, but it's totally possible. And I think that's the whole point of coming with this at this tool, from that point of just trusting as well. Something I always say to my clients is, I don't really understand how Wi-Fi works, right? But I know that I can send a file to Australia with a ping of my phone. I don't need to know the details. We just have to trust in the process, don't we, sometimes?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's just really useful, though, to know that one thing, that through the acupuncture points which you're tapping, that stimulation creates an electromagnetic pulse which affects the bit of your brain that's to do with, guess what, high emotions, the limbic system, and more importantly, the amygdala, which, if any of you have a like you look at some food and you think, you've got a complete addiction to chocolate or carbs, when you're, particularly if you're stressed, or there's a fear of jealousy with your partner, or any high level emotion, guess where it's housed? Da, 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 da! In the amygdala. So by doing that tapping, it changed the electromagnetic force of the pattern when it's combined with this onslaught of the tapping, that electromagnetic current. It unhooks the pattern, and that's the genius, the absolutely life-changing genius of EFT. Over to you, babe.
Yeah, and there's nothing more satisfying. I kind of mentioned this last week. There's nothing more satisfying as a therapist, as a practitioner, than to get these instant results. So when you clear that pattern, and I love it, the client kind of looks up for the problem that you've just been talking, they're like, it's gone, it's shifted, it's changed. You're like, ta-da! Because you get that almost instantaneous, don't you, sometimes, results. Not all the time, but sometimes. And I think that's just the magic of it, because you've done it in the moment, changed that field, changed that wiring, changed that pattern that's gone on in the mind. So powerful.
Yeah, and the other side of that is, and Naomi and I are really privileged to see this all the time. But if you're sat there now listening to this with like a food thing, like an addiction thing, and it doesn't have to be that, it can be shopping, it can be the internet, it can be scrolling, it can be like any sort of compulsion to something, anything which you come away from, like you fear, like you don't like being with the other moms because you don't, picking up your kids because you don't feel good enough, or if you get invited out, there's a bit of social anxiety. There's 101 things where we either go, oh, or a negative compulsion towards something. And that is not you. You're not broken. It's just that wiring in the amygdala, which has gone, I gotcha. Stress, chocolate, or women in the playground, fear, not good enough. It's just this going on in the amygdala. So when we tap, the other side of that is explain the other side of how people feel when they release those electromagnetic currents that are patterned in the amygdala.
It's like table tennis or something, isn't it? Microphone on, microphone off. But what I see in my clients, the word that people use all the time is lightness. Because the frequency of those emotions that they've been carrying around for so long is heavy, isn't it? And it feels like they've been bearing a weight. So the first word, they're like, oh, I feel light. It's like a common word that people say, I feel so much lighter. And we begin to have this freedom then, because we start to realize that, or they start to realize that they have a power within to to change. And that is incredibly empowering for them. And many go on to use it for their children, or they use it in their classrooms. I tend to work with a lot of teachers. They use it with, if they're yoga teachers, and they want to take it out, because once you discover this passion for, as Jilly and I have, that's inherent in us now, once you discover it, you want the world to know that there is this simple solution. And so they get this sense of lightness, sense of freedom, sense of more possibilities, and being able to tap into your true potential, because you haven't got all those emotional blocks in the way. You're not being triggered all the time. It really just is like, don't want to use the word magic, because that sounds really woo again, but it really is. It's magic. It's not an illusion. It's working though from a deep place of proven science.
Yeah, so if you're sat there now thinking, well, that's interesting, I'm just going to be really quiet for a moment while I ask you a couple of questions. And I want you to just let your mind and your imagination tumble on this. If you could think of one thing that, if you were given a wish, like something could change, an aspect of you. So it could be a fear, it could be a food craving, it could be that you wanted to earn more money, but you always hit a certain thing. Because again, without going into too much detail, because we're going to do a separate thing on this, but these patterns in our brain keep us in a certain place. And so that can be to do with money, it can be to do with relationships and all those sorts of things. So what I want you to do is to think what your life would be like without one aspect which you feel really holds you back. So it might be a craving, it might be feeling less than. I'm not saying just feel amazing, but that you feel good enough, that you feel okay. What would your life be like? How would it feel different? I'm just going to be quiet for a moment while you think of that. Just get that feeling of being in that space. And that is what EFT could help bring to you. Yeah.
Yeah. Possibilities, potentiality, and just that sense of being more balanced, right? For me, it's like being in control more often as well, and having a tool. Something I use personally all times when I was using it on Saturday at my event, I could feel like the emotion come out when I was trying to speak. Tap, 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 because you can just use it in the moment as well, not just historically. It's really good for being in the present moment and helping to manage your emotions as well, isn't it? Like, you'll always see me doing a little tap, tap, tap on the chest when I'm trying to bring down my emotional arousal. You still mute.
So if you got like an event or a meeting or something like that, not only does it help you to like get to the core of something. So for instance, if you regularly felt anxious about speaking up in public, I was working with a client just a few weeks ago who just, even though she was really bright and was doing really well in her business, she just couldn't, she always deferred to her boss or just couldn't get her own voice out there. The beauty of EFT, and it's why, yes, you can do it for a particular event, but it goes right down to the frigging core of things. It goes right down to an originating pattern. And what it does is, so studies that have been done, so if you've had this obsession about doing something or avoiding something, I mean, let's take food cravings. They got people 2 months later and they were still gone, and the great thing about it is they put the foods in front of them that when they first showed them, like 2 or 3 months before, various areas of their brains to do with memory lit up. And then when they showed them 2 months later, there was none of those areas lighting up. So the thing is what it does, this beautiful bit of science that, if any of you are really interested in looking at this stuff, look at Petter Stapleton, Donna Eden, or Dawson Church, particularly Donna Eden and David Feinstein, Fein, and they've done some great stuff. But they showed that there was nothing like lighting up in the brain. So the pattern's gone. It's not that you have to keep working on it and keep on top of it. You know, like CBT, cognitive behavioural stuff, you have to keep on top of it all the time, and you have to keep like thinking about it. It's gone, and that's the shift, and it's a very profound one and a lasting one. So it's that lasting bit I just wanted to get in there, Naomi. So because we love this stuff so much, we're really excited to let you know.
Yes, about the collaboration of the year with our world-class offer to train anybody's interest that has been piqued and they're like, this I need in my life. And whether it's for your personal use, for you to use with your close family, friends, colleagues, or whether you have more of a desire to add it to your toolkit to become qualified in EFT, Jilly and I would love to invite you along to our very special 3-day training, which is taking place in July in West Sussex. It's an in-person training, people, like together in a room. And oh my gosh, Jilly trained me 3 or 4 years ago now. It's a very profound experience because you cannot do this work without shifting all your own shit at the same time too. It's impossible not to. So it's a very practical course. It's a great way to expand your own personal growth journey. It's a wonderful, wonderful, like game-changing tool to have in your kit as a professional, anybody who's dealing with people on a regular basis. Hold on, my phone's ringing now. It's all going on this evening. It's just so powerful, and the level of training that you will receive from Jilly with myself accompanying her is unbeatable. We've got 3 full days followed up by 6 one-hour masterclasses of an evening, which is going to take you really, really deep into how to use this and how to take clients and people, your loved ones, on this freedom-based journey. Freedom from old emotions, freedom from old memories, freedom from all the shit that keeps you stuck, keeps you bogged down. You will have everything that you need to really, really master that. It's an incredible offer. We priced it as ridiculous price. We were having a conversation the other day. We were like, what were we even thinking? It's £555 investment for the 3 days and the 6 masterclasses for an in-person training is just ridiculous. So snap our arms off, because it will never be this ridiculously great value ever again.
Yeah, we were just like, what were we thinking of? But I've worked with a few people, and I know a lot of people in the EFT world, and there's some amazing trainers out there, some really beautiful people that I would, recommend and love. But I think the additions of our 6 of our masterclasses, of the full package that we offer, I can honestly say, completely hand on heart, I think, as a master trainer, I used to be a master trainer for AAMET, which is one of the top EFT training people organisations, and there's only about 12 people in the country that were doing this. It's the best EFT training in the country, and I don't say that lightly, and it's no discredit to anyone else's at all, because, as I say, it's some beautiful stuff. But I've seen how the training, and we've just made it that extra bit bigger, and and I think there's just a massive amount of support on it. The masterclasses run, so the course is in July, first week in July, and the masterclasses run, I think it's until the 3rd week of September, something like that. So in that time, you will be able to train and have a lifelong tool, technique to be able to use for yourself, your family, even your children when they're going through exam nerves, breakup, anxiety and upset. You'll have something that you will be able to help move through problems really, really quickly. And then those of you who would like to add it to or become trained professional, well, it's a professional qualification, but if you wanted to, you just take the exam at the end, and then you can get insurance and set up as an emotional freedom technique coach and help other people over problems, difficulties, blocks, barriers that stop us from living our best life.
Oh, thank you, Jilly. I have popped the link. It's only gone into YouTube at the moment, so for some reason, I'll pop the link into our other places and spaces so you can check out the full offer. But it is absolutely game changing, a once in a lifetime opportunity to invest in yourself at this level as well. Sharon asked a question a little while ago.
I was just about to say, are there any questions?
Yeah, there was one there from Sharon. She's looking for some clarity, I think. So when you tap, is that what's working? It's clearing your energy field.
Yeah, thanks. That's a great question, Sharon. So what's happening is as you're tapping on the various points which we will teach you, you might already know them, it sends that electromagnetic charge. It's like a disruptive charge along the acupressure point, or along the meridians, we would call them, along the meridians. And it locates, that charge locates itself in the amygdala and the limbic system, where both the chemical and the electromagnetic patterns are for the problem. So you've actually got, if you took a brain, you'd see these little neurons wiring and firing together over a food craving or a fear of something, but also it has a charge to it. So it works in two ways. So it actually disrupts the mechanical pattern and it changes the electromagnetic field. And that's why people get such quick shifts. So it's literally from, no, I can't do that, I can't stand on that chair or go up a ladder, to, what's the problem? What? Or a fear about a past event, if something horrible has happened. And people get really, really upset thinking about the past. Sadly, those events will colour how we act now. But if we do some tapping, and you've got to do it in a particular way, then it disrupts the memory, and it disrupts it through the physical connection and the electromagnetic charge that it's emitting through what we're through what we're doing. I've just got to stop looking at myself because I can't I've got to just do it.
It takes that tag off, doesn't it? It takes the tag, the high arousal of the emotion that's related to the, when we're talking about historical unpleasant experiences or disturbing experiences or upsetting experiences, it's removing the emotional tag from the memory. So the memory still remains, but it removes that arousal. That's right, isn't it, Jilly? So that we're staying, the nervous system stays regulated when you think of the thought. So, I mean, that alone, wouldn't it be lovely to just remove all those arousing memories from your mind that can be upsetting and uncomfortable? So yes. Now I apologize for the sound tonight. It's put me off my stride a little bit. It's hasn't been. We're going to be doing more lives on more specialist topics all about EFT over the coming weeks in the lead up to our training. So we will be sharing lots and lots, but I hope that you've gathered all the value that you need, you've understood the science, you get that this is something that is proven, this is something that has been tested, this is something that is being used in traditional medicine far more than we give it credit for, and to get past that scepticism that it all sounds a bit too woo or a bit too good to be true. Anything to add for our final thoughts, Jilly?
I think, do you know what's just come to mind actually? Like Yoda, like Yoda. Is it? Yeah, it is Yoda, isn't it? Yeah. And he says, I think Luke Skywalker says something, energy, and he said, it is everywhere and within and all around. And that's what I'd like to leave with.
I love that visualizing. I'm going to be thinking of Yoda all night now. Thank you, Jilly.
Oh, I love Yoda.
It's been a blessing. Anybody who wants to find out more, please connect with us. You'll find Jilly over at Jilly Wooten on Instagram, and jillywooten.com, I think, is your website. You guys all know me, Naomi Newland. You're very welcome to ask me any questions, any queries you've got about the training or just EFT in general, or working with either of us on a one-to-one basis. If you're thinking, I don't really want to do the training, I just want to work with a therapist, both Jill and I offer that service as well. So if you really just want to get stuck in, discover the freedom, the lightness, stop the arousal, then we are your ladies for the job. We would love to discuss what it is exactly you need. So thank you for joining us this evening. Over to you, Jilly, to say goodbye. Oh, you've said goodbye. Was Yoda your parting gift?
Yeah, thanks for joining us, girls. And anybody who listens to this on the replay, just put #replay. We'd love to know your main takeaways. And for those of you who've actually joined us, any questions or just what your main aha moment was from what we've done today, that would be really great. It's really helpful to Naomi and I, and really hope that we see a lot of you with us in July, because I think it's going to be a really, really special time.
Definitely. So guaranteed time with us two together. Thank you. Good night. Wishing you all a more than enough kind of evening. Thank you for joining us. Good night. Bye-bye.